All right, welcome to task number 5. Super happy that you guys are still with us. I know there's a lot that we've been going over, a lot of things that I hope that you've been learning, and we'll kind of continue on from here. So, one of the things that we did is we came in the last time, we went and we created a property. If you have not done this process, if you skipped over it somehow, I highly encourage you. You really need to go back, otherwise the challenge won't be accepted. You need to go back through that process and create that property and showing you that process that we just went through. So take a step back and do that if you have not. Otherwise, we're going to continue on. So in the last one, we went through the process of adding the property, and we talked about how we can add from the property, we can add listings and we can add transactions. And what we're going to do is do that process. But before we do that, what we want to do is go back to our routines and set up a listing routine, something that might be done for the listing process itself. We come into the navigation menu, click on routines, and here's where we've got our routine manager. We're going to click on the new routine up here at the top. And what we're going to do is click on blank routine again. So we're going to click on blank routine. And in the title area, we're going to put in new listing steps. What is it that we're going to do whenever we're going to get a new listing? So we're going to change this to a listing type routine instead of a contact, because we're dealing with the listing process. And the reason why we do that is you're going to get a different series of date fields. So if we click on this, now instead of being contact type dates, these are all listing type dates. In this case, we're just going to choose the listing date. Whenever a new listing is entered, what are the things that we want to do whenever a new listing is created? And this is where we need to start building our routine. Now, what we want to do is use the magic button. Again, it's really the best way of creating a lot of these different routines instead of doing it manually. You can certainly click on the little plus to add them manually, or you can click on the let Sam build it. In this particular case, we're going to use a routine description called create a new listing routine to prepare for showing. Okay. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and click on the little shimmers to make it a little bit more enhanced. It dives in and gives you a lot more detail. Go through, identify what it's doing, make sure it's what you are wanting in the description. In this case, I'm going to take it as it is. It may be a little bit less than what we would really want, but certainly spend the time whenever you're wanting to create these routines, spend the time that it takes to describe it well. In this particular case, it creates several different things. Initial preparations 3 days before showing, walkthrough, final day of preparations, coordinate with third party, and some feedback collection stuff. So, whatever it is that you would want to do whenever you get a new listing, you can certainly do that. We've got lots of other dates, so you don't have to just pick the new listing date, but certainly anything that you would want to do. You could create a routine for the photography date. What are all the things that you would do once you put in that you've got a photography date assigned? A day before, some kind of reminder. During the day, it's the activity, scheduled activity in your calendar. A day later, maybe it's a follow-up with the photographer or whatever. So you create the different routines based off of filling in a particular date. What does that date actually represent, and what should be done for those routines at that date? Click on the approve and build, and then once again it goes through the process of building out the steps, building out any automations that goes along with those steps as well. Sometimes they have emails and text messages, sometimes they don't, but it goes through and it identifies them. So in this case, technically the only one that actually had any kind of email automation of some sort was this feedback collection. But in this case, it went through and it created a bunch of items in the list. Your whole goal is to identify what types of things that we want to do. Now, once again, we're going to set this as being active so that it will automatically start once this listing date is filled in. And that's kind of the key point of this, is making sure that it does it for you automatically. You would want to go through each one of these, identify what they are, make sure they are in the same time frame that you would want them to be done. Some of these are, X number of days before, some are X number of days after, and on this one, on listing date, final preparations, the things that you do for that listing. So lots of things either before, during, or after that particular key date that you've got in there. Now then, what we're going to do, now that we've got the routine set up, we're going to go back over to our properties. And in our property, we're going to click on the property itself, 123 Main Street. We've got the information. And I'm going to go in here to the listings section. Now, in the listings area, this is where you're going to be able to set up a listing, but over time, you could have multiple listings that hopefully you've helped the buyers and sellers of this property over time, so that you've got the historical information. In this particular case, we're going to come over here and we're going to click on Add Listing. Whenever we click on the Add Listing, it's going to ask for a listing number. If you know the listing number, put it in. So I'm put in some number. If you don't know it yet, you can put in TBD, to be determined, whatever. And what is the listing date? This is the date that we're using for the listing date, which is the same date that we used for the new listing routine. Click on Create. And what this does then is this then gives you the extra fields that's going to take to make this a listing. We can go through the process of filling these out as well. What's the status of this listing? In this case, maybe it's a coming soon for right now. Maybe we're not ready to make it live yet, but we're making sure that everything is prepped so we can set it for coming soon. At some point through the process, it will move through that process of being active and whatnot. The listing number is put in there for you. If your company, if your real estate company has its own listing number beyond that of the MLS number, you can certainly put it in here. What is the list price? Maybe it's $525,000. The original price on this, $525,000. And what is the listing type? So you can come in here and choose whatever options that exist. And some of these things are multiple, so you can pick on whatever you want. Maybe it's an open listing, maybe it's a multiple listing. You choose which ones apply. In this case, what is the occupied status? Is it currently occupied and appointment only? Occupied with a lockbox, key in the office, or whatever? Maybe I'll say lockbox. What milestone are we currently at? So in a contact record, you can have one milestone, but in a listing, you can actually have multiple milestones happening at the same time. Maybe we're getting things ready. Maybe we're going through the process of prepping and stuff, so you can do different statuses. And as things get done, maybe it moves from one status to another, but there may be some lingering milestones as well that still have to be completed, so you can do some selection there. But in this case, maybe we'll just make this the listing itself was created, and that's all that we want to make it right now. The property condition, put in all the information about the property condition, what disclosures, what tags. Every property can have a tag. Tag them however you want. The important dates, these are same type of thing that we had for the property and for the contact. These are dates that can be used for the purposes of the routines. You can create your own dates in the settings area. It only shows certain dates in here, but you can click on the little eyeball and you can see many of the other dates that are available. The marketing information. So here's where we can come in and we can create some additional marketing information based off of what we know in here. So it is maybe an exclusive listing. Maybe it's, maybe you want to make this the highlighted listing. It's some of the marketing information some statusing stuff that you put on there. The listing description you can put in here, or you can use AI and it will take what it knows. You can put in a description, kind of an objective right here of what you want. It has a default one of highlighting the main features of the property. I click on OK, and it will take the information that is in the property side that we had typed in earlier, and it will create the property description for you. So some very basic information about all the different stuff that's in there. The special features, similar type of thing, highlight any special features that might go in there. Now these are things that can be used for descriptive purposes whenever it's creating content, whenever it's creating lead magnets and stuff like that for different things. It can use information from here. The marketing title, similar type of thing where we can let it create a title for us, and that title then can be representative of what it is. Luxury living awaits, spacious 4-bedroom with pool, solar, and a peaceful cul-de-sac. You know, we gave it all those parts and pieces, so it went ahead and described all that for us. What's the marketing strategies? What are the things that we're going to do to put this thing on market and make it available for sale? And we'll do some open houses, we'll do some mailings, we'll do some print advertising. You do whatever. You select the items that you want, and this thing can be some drivers of some of the content as well. So we've got lots of information that we've collected and actually manually typed in very little. Showing information. What information do we need to keep track of? Lockbox, CBS code, spy box code, any pets that are in that property that we might have to address whenever showings are happening. The listing party members. So whenever you created the listing, the owners of the property immediately became the sellers. Okay, so the thing that you would want to do, however, is you want to add additional party members. Maybe you want to add yourself or whoever the listing person is, and that's going to come from your database. So you do need to make sure that you are in your own database, and if you're not, you can certainly add it. So in this case, I'm going to come in here and I want to type in Mark Stepp. That's who I am, but we didn't add me into the database. So I'm going to go ahead and do that just so that I'm in there, Mark Stepp, and we'll say mark at workflowsecrets.info. And phone number. I don't remember what I put in there. 417-555-1212 or whatever. Click on save. And what that does is that will add me as a contact into the database. Even though I'm a user, it will select me as a person. And the question then becomes, who am I as a party member to this? Well, I would probably be the listing agent. So I'm going to type in listing, or start to type in listing, and I can choose listing agent, and I can put in any kind of notes that I want to, and put that in. If you want to put in who's the stager, who's the photographer, who's the, all the different parts and pieces of the party members that are in here, whenever you create routines, you can say, send this email to the seller, send this email to the listing agent. It will find who that listing agent is, in this case, a certain person's name and their email address, and it'll email it to them. So it helps automate that communication to each of the party members whenever the routine identifies who I need to be sending content to. That's very, very important. The estimated proceeds, one of the things that you can do is come in here and just identify, how much is this going to net the person, the estimated proceeds, once it is sold. So some very basic information. What's the outstanding loan in this? Maybe they still owe, $240,000 on this. Loan payoff, we'll just say 0. 3% commission. Whatever, title insurance, and I have no idea on your area. I'm just going to put in some numbers. Inspection, maybe 300. I know this makes no sense. You can add in other costs. You can put in whatever you want to, and it will give you a ballpark. And that's all it is a ballpark. But then you can come in here and you can kind of print that off if you want to for your person, just to give a ballpark of, showing them what it could be in the event that it sells at that price. Will it sell at that price? Hopefully it'll go for more, but it could go for a lot less. So whatever it is, kind of giving them a number of some sort. Then we have the listing offers, and this is where it's kind of fun, where we can put in some offer information. We're going to come back to that in a second, but any kind of activities that were created would come in here into the calendar. Now, because we had set up the routine to key off of the listing date, it went ahead and started the new listing routine for us. So here's all the things that need to get done, and today is actually there are some things that needed to get done beforehand. So some of these are past due because we'd said 1 day before, 2 days before, 3 days before, or whatever, and it would put those in there. But as they come due, then you can come in here, you can click on them, you can do whatever the task is. Once it's done, you mark it off the list and it's good to go. It will then put those tasks into the completed area. Otherwise, the current list, what's currently due and still left to do. You can come over to the routine list, just like we were in the contacts area, and we can see what routines are running on this particular one. In this case, there is the new listing steps. We just completed one activity, so it says 1 of 5 completed. And if we click on this, we can see which routines are done, and I can actually even complete them from here. So if I went ahead and coordinated with my third-party services, I can go through, check that off, go through the process. If there's any actions that happen, it would pop up and ask those actions to be completed at that time. So as we go through now here, I've completed 2 things. Now it shows me that I've got 2 steps done. Great way of seeing how far am I in through that process. Now, at some point through this, hopefully you've gotten through the point where it is the status has gone from coming soon to active, and it's going through that process. So what I actually am going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set it as active, and with it active, maybe we've got some offers. So we can come over here to the listing offers, and in the listing offers we've got a series of fields that we have available to show and compare. So what this does is this allows you to add multiple offers to a particular listing that is on a particular property. So all this ties together. So we come through this process of adding a new offer, and maybe on this offer it's a new offer. When was this offer made? When does it expire? Is there a particular time when this offer may expire? Maybe they're going to say it will expire on the 22nd at say 9 o'clock p.m. They go to bed at 10 o'clock. They want it before they go to bed. The offer price, are they going to pay full price? Are they going to pay above full price? So maybe instead of $525, they're offering $555. In which case, it's $105 above list price. Their down payment on this, maybe they're going to put down $30,000 and another say $20,000 in deposit. So they're almost at 10%. And then you can go through and you can do different stuff. How many days escrow? Maybe it's a 30-day escrow. When do they take possession? Close of escrow. Who is the buyer agency that's representing this? And you can type in, Jones and Company, whatever. Who is the buyer's agent on this? So let's see, do we have anybody in our database? I should have looked at some of those names. At let's see, let me just do .com. So it should find somebody. .io. I think there's some .ios in there. Nope. Well, actually, let's go ahead and add a buyer's agent in here. Let's say this is John. Say this is John Quick. And in this case, we're just going to say John Quick, and we're going to put in email, John at quickrealty.com, 417-555, some number, and click on save. So in this case, it'll go ahead and add John to the list. I can select them from the list, and it puts them in there. If there's multiple agents, you can select multiples. Who is the buyer? In this case, we can pick from one of the buyers if we want, and maybe we don't have them in the database yet, but this is a George Jones. Got a lot of Joneses in the building here. George at example.com, 555 333 1212. So if George is in there, you could pick them. Otherwise, you can create them. I'm going to go ahead and put George in there, so he's going to be the buyer. And any contingencies. It can go ahead and put in any kind of information as far as the contingencies that it can create activities from. Additional terms you can put in there. You can put in requests incentives, the buyer offered incentives. There's lots of things that you can put in here. Put in what is needed. You don't have to put in any more. Maybe you have some lender information. So they're going to say they're going to get some let's say they're pre-approved through a certain place. You can certainly put all that information in there. I'm going to leave that off for now, but put in whatever information that you want to in this. All kinds of stuff. Is there a buyer's letter? Any additional offer notes you can put in there. Now, one of the cool things that we've got in this is once you've put in the details of that offer, you can come down here and click on the evaluate. The evaluate will take the information that's in this particular offer and then give you the pros, the cons of each of the elements of this that can be then shared with your seller to identify that. And you can add additional pros and cons. What do you like? What do you dislike? Giving them all the information that they need to identify what's good about this particular offer. It'll give you a kind of a comparative score to identify how good compared to others that are in there. In this case, it's an 80. It's a good score, but there might be some other offers that actually get better. So you can put in all that. It will create a net proceeds as well. So it'll take the information from the original net and it'll put it in here for you, so you can kind of see what is the estimated proceeds based off of this new price. What will they get? Click on the save, and that'll put that in there. Now we've got all the things that we need to for an offer. So I'm going to stop right here because there's one more piece that we need to do, but we want to make sure that you understand this is the process of creating a listing that had a routine on it. The routines automatically started whenever we created that. And as we add new dates to things, as we get activities that update dates even, so you can have routines that create activities that then tell you, hey, you need such and such date today, and you'd put that date in, that can start other routines. So all the automation keys off of those important dates. And as you complete those, more and more things get completed. But that is the process of putting in a listing. We're going to continue on the next part of this challenge and put in the transaction. But you have gone through the process of getting through task 5. Congratulations. If there's any questions that you have for us, certainly reach out. We'll be happy to answer any of those questions. So have a great day. Talk to you later.